Hello. In this video I'm going to talk about why I've not made a video this week because I've been a little bit busy. Let's get into it. Hi folks. A little bit of a different video this week. Granted, I've been making a pretty hectic mix of different kinds of content over the past few weeks, seeing what works. That's going to remain the constant. As I've said in previous videos, I'm really enjoying making the different kinds of content that kind of fit in with what I'm doing with my hobby at the moment. What I wasn't prepared for, however, was the response to the last video that I did. Now, that was the reveal of my Skaven Tide box set. It's done, for my channel at least, really well, and had some really good comments coming through either via YouTube comments or over on Instagram as well. The crux of that has been, will I do some tutorials on the various factions that I've painted in there? And the answer to that is yes, I will indeed do those tutorials. I'm painting some more Stormcast, in fact. Now, that's not going to be next week. Obviously, those tutorial videos take a little bit of time to put together. What I wanted to do then was take this opportunity to kind of revisit where I am with the channel and what I'm doing with the channel. I've already got the plans for the next video, and I've been spending a lot of time sorting out my own hobby. That's what I want to talk about next week. But that will give me time to put together the painting tutorial for the Stormcast. So the first of the tutorials will be, as you've probably guessed by now, the Stormcast, my Ruination Chamber, the Mortis Chamber. It's a really simple painting technique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the videos down into multiple bits of content. That it's great that you guys are interested and want to see how I'm doing those things. But again, this channel is primarily for me to document my hobby journey. So I'm going to break those down into individual steps. So there'll be one on painting the armor and then a supplementary video on painting the glow. The Skaven then. Am I going to paint some more Skaven? Well, that wholly depends on if I find some more Skaven that I like, to be honest. I hadn't actually planned on keeping that Skaven army. I planned on painting it, putting it together and learning to play AOS 4 with it just so I could follow along with the examples in the book. Because for me, how I learn and retain information, that made perfect sense. However, I really did enjoy painting them. And I'm wondering if you guys, this is where I could do some interaction from you. Please do let me know down in the comments if you want to see specifically me paint that style of Skaven, so making them look like Splinter from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I am showing my age now. Or if I could paint something else with fur using exactly the same techniques as that, but it won't be a Skaven model. Now, I could go out and buy some Skaven that I'm not going to use and try and ride the algorithm just to get more views, but I'm not going to do that. I'm literally downsizing my hobby collection as it is, so buying more stuff that I don't need is probably not the best idea. What I do have, however, is some direwolves. Now, I've already painted a wodge of those. Go and check out my Instagram, instagram.com/Forge of Solace, and you'll see some recent pictures of some direwolves I've painted using pretty much exactly the same technique as I used on those Skaven. The only difference being the glow. Now, as I said, I'm going to do a glow tutorial for the Stormcast, and I am going to definitely revisit the glow tutorial on how I did the green glowing warpstone. I think there's a whole playlist around doing different glow effects there. Last time I tried to do some glowing tutorials, it wasn't the best in the world, and a lot of viewers turned off straight away as soon as they realised I was using an airbrush. Well, the reality of the situation is I'm not going to not use an airbrush. I use airbrushes a lot. I love painting with a traditional brush, but I leverage all of the tools that I've got in my arsenal at any given time. So that will be something that's happening, but it will be with an airbrush. So prepare yourself for that. If that's not the content that you're looking for, that's cool. Absolutely fine. Not everything will be with an airbrush. So do let me know if that's good or bad. I know a lot more people are picking up airbrushes now these days. I don't think it's as uncommon as it used to be, and there's not as much snobbery as there used to be around that. Well then, that's pretty much where I am at the moment. Like I say, this week I haven't actually done any hobby because I was kind of collecting myself after the marathon paint jobs that I did on the Skaven Tide box to get it done so that I could get those games in a few weeks ago. Since then, I have had a couple more games, really enjoying it. So I'm going to do some content around the various phases in the game, how I'm finding those. Little, I don't want to say tips and tricks, but stumbling blocks that myself as a new person to the game, to playing the game at least, is finding. And stumbling blocks as well. I think it's important to talk about as failures as well as the successes, and that is part of my journey. And part of that has been what I've spent this week doing, the hobby adjacent stuff that'll be in the video that's coming next week, which is all about space and time, not space time, because that's a whole different type of hobby, I suppose. No, but you know what I mean. Space and time. So it's not going to be super sexy content, so prepare yourself for that as well. But this is what this channel is. It's the hobby journey. I'm really, really chuffed that you guys have liked what I've done with the Skaven Tide box, and I'm genuinely humbled at the amount of interaction I've had in the comments. That has knocked me for six. So thank you for all the positive comments. That's really, really put a spring in my step and made me want to do more of that kind of stuff. The tutorials are coming. In fact, I've got the Warhammer page open at the moment, looking at a couple of the units that I want to add. What I'm thinking of doing is painting up the second Spearhead box. Since I never grabbed this stuff, I do have a couple of the models. I have this gentleman here now, is the Velixia or whatever, and I've got one of these chariots thanks to a local hobbyist that passed one my way. So I've only got the rest of it to get, and I really fancy converting some of these annihilators up as well, so they actually look better, not just stood there with the shields looking particularly boring, because that's not good for anybody, is it? What do you think? Is that a good plan? I'm sorry this week's video is a little bit more rushed, let's be honest, than I have done for the past couple of weeks, but as I say, I've been particularly busy changing my space up and making it just a more comfortable place to hobby in, and that's the important thing. To hobby, you've got to want to hobby, and it was getting to the point where I was just getting overwhelmed. So stick around for next week's video. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about my hobby process and perhaps some tips and tricks on how you can normalize your hobby in a sensible manner so that you don't get overwhelmed with it. If you've stuck around to the end of the video, thank you so much. It does really, really help. Leave me a like. If you're not already, do subscribe. The channel is randomly growing, which isn't something that I actually expected. I never thought I'd reach 1,000 followers, let alone nearly be at 1,100. Following people's hobby journeys isn't quite as much fun as some of the bigger channels out there, is it? Where they're doing all of these channels painting things, but this is what I kind of wanted when I got back into the hobby. I wanted to connect with people doing the same thing as myself. So from me to you, thank you if you are enjoying this type of content. I'm going to leave it there for this week, and I'll see you next week.